What is up, everyone? Thanks so much for tuning in to the first ever podcast episode called Walk and Talk. I'm here with Bruno Pozzo. Bruno, what's going on? Introduce yourself here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bruno Pozzo. I'm glad to be here. Nice to see you, Mateo.
And we are actually using an iPhone 11 to record this podcast. No mics. We want to show everyone out there that as long as you have an iPhone, which I'm pretty sure 99.9999999% of you do, then that means that you can go out and create content yourself. So I guess in this episode, as we're walking here at CSUN through the USU, shout out to any Matadors out there that are listening, but just wanted to sort of talk on this idea of Hollywood. Bruno and I, we just recently have connected since being middle school buddies, and we both have a large passion in film. And we're very fortunate to live in the San Fernando Valley area of the Los Angeles suburbs because we're exposed to so much innately with all of these studios. For example, Warner Brothers is in Burbank, NBC Universal's in Universal City, and we have all these resources and great weather that allow us to almost have an advantage to create content. And I guess through this insight and through this Hollywood lens, we feel like we could share a lot of perspectives that Bruno actually mentioned, this idea of like Hollywood. So Bruno, I guess, do you mind just sharing a little bit more about like what Hollywood means to you?
Yeah. So we like Mateo said, I love the fact that most of the productions that I get to view on my TV screens in the theaters around me is always going to be, or at least a decent proportion of them are always going to be from the Valley and Los Angeles because that's just where we get shit done. Like over here, like you said, we're just a production machine. Like it's honestly insane, like how it really is like that in SoCal specifically. I feel like a little bit in NorCal too, with like the tech people and Silicon Beach and stuff like that now. And we have Silicon Beach down here in Santa Monica. The money's coming in, man. So people and content could be, I say Hollywood because that's the one most people are familiar with, but content could be anything. Like once again, these podcasts are a form of content. That's like interview podcasts like Rich Roll or Joe Rogan and stuff like that. Rest in peace. He's in Texas now, but that's the beauty of it. You can do it anywhere. So Hollywood is not just tied to Hollywood anymore. It's just tied to whoever has the camera and the fucking internet. And look, like we just said at the top of this of the show, everyone has an iPhone 11. Look how easy this was to do to even get started. But it's just we are so influenced by like that business, just like I said, just because we're surrounded by it here. It really is about producing and getting yourself out there. And the good old Trump days of any press is good press. Like that's part of it too. Just getting eyeballs on you. And Hollywood always knew how to get eyes on a lot of screens, so they got my respect there. But I mean, I wish I had something to ask you, but like, what now?
I have some questions for you. Actually. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, nowadays, look, anyone with an iPhone can be an artist, really, and produce. So like, I guess, where's the disconnect between what we know and what others perceive Hollywood to be?
Yeah, I mean, even just what you started to say there, how other people see LA, definitely it's, from the outside in, it probably looks insane. I can only imagine. I would say this is definitely a privileged position. It's something that I had to kind of remember that sometimes. I'm like, fuck, like I'm just so used to it. It's just part of being in LA and all this other bullshit, being in SoCal. And all that jazz. But what was your question?
Okay, so I guess to kind of clarify, I spoke to someone outside of LA recently, and it's just like a different environment in most places. Like New York, like it's all about that corporate lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And maybe some other rural parts of the U.S., like for example, Texas, you might work in the oil industry, right?
For sure. A little more farmhand.
And like, you look at LA, and like, you can be a grip out here, or like you can be a storyteller, and like, and then like you said, like that's where all like the TikTokers and Viners,
YouTubers
come out here, and apparently they buy houses and they just come out here and create content as a means of living. Like what Is that just like how LA's always gonna be?
I mean, definitely, bro. It's just too late. Like, cause just like you said, that's why I like using the word Hollywood, just because I just mean, when I mean Hollywood, I mean just like whatever people are familiar with in terms of SoCal. Just our number one export has always been media, and it was, Hollywood, just movies, this, movies that. But now it's like you said, it could be any content type of creator. Like, it could be a writer, it can be a podcaster, it can be TikToker, Viner, YouTuber, even just a Twitter personality. I wouldn't be surprised. Anything, honestly. And personally, it can be a little bit of a cesspool because of that, but I personally love it. Maybe it's the American in me, just the hustling, the dream that we can make it happen. But it's definitely just so normalized here, and I think that's to my advantage. Like I said, personally, I take it as a privilege, but I can only imagine how crazy we look from the outside in. But it's not that big a deal. It's just definitely a little bit of that Gen like Z millennial technology jump too. Like, we are, as the younger generation, are so much more comfortable with technology and realize and are taking the advantages of it. Especially with the content production stuff, because that just applies in everything you do when it comes to like even marketing your company. It's about producing content, especially now you see them like on Twitter, right? Big brands like doing memes, trying to get on the content creation. It's just some way to keep you thinking about them,
So do you think like video production skills will be something that's democratized, and like it won't be like our generation can easily create these videos that like maybe someone 3 times our age doesn't know and probably won't know how to do? Like, do you think that's going to be the case?
Yeah, most definitely. Sadly, the older generation is just, some of them, a lot of them, and it makes sense. As you get older, I would be more complacent. I wouldn't really want to deal with like having the hassle of to learn all this new stuff when you already have like, pretty comfortable living, or if you've already done your living doing a career. It's just normal to me. But I think that does do them a disservice, because they're gonna fall behind. But that's fine. Like I said, they're old. They can enjoy their retirement and stuff. So I think that's why they just don't really care. But that's okay. It's gonna be an interesting time, like you said, because the fact that millennials and Gen Z in general are really like tech savvy really does give them a head start, like insane now. It's really important, and a lot of things are just using your tools around you, which is your technology. And people forget, especially here in America. I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but we forget how powerful iPhones are, and like you can just really do anything if you just have like even just one tool like that. And it seems like majority of people in the US have that.
So walk us through the inspiration for your YouTube channel. Like, we've been hanging out. You're really passionate about the plant-based community, their mission. And so how do you translate your passions, what you love at your core, and execute upon that, like turn it into a visual medium?
Honestly, the tying in the passion of film into something that I want to do, which is add value to this life, leave this earth better than I came into it. And so that's honestly my ultimate goal. And so when I make my YouTube channel, it was actually because I went plant-based, like you said. And when I went plant-based, it's crazy, because you start to realize there's so many problems in the world and so many areas, and they're so closely tied together when it comes to injustices. All of them, they're all the same. I call them the isms. They're the worst. Sexism, heterosexism, racism, speciesism. People always forget that one, conveniently. But all the forms of discrimination that basically say one group of people is important and another is not. Honestly, that's our human flaw, and that's just something I want to always elucidate. And that's actually what inspired the channel, I guess, was just feeling like I need to add something to this world, so I might as well add some good.
So like, I watch a lot of Gary Vee, and every day he's just preaching, make content, push something. It's a long game. And I think eventually with time, there will be more people that will be digital, and more people will have their own podcasts, because it's just going to be necessary to just stay afloat and stuff. So like, do you think it'll get to a point where like ideally it's like standard that everyone is digital, or do you think a lot of people will sort of resist it? And if so, like why?
I mean, that's you said it's pretty blanket, but there's so many reasons. Like people either are can be shy in front of cameras or whatever. Something as simple as that can be a barrier for why people don't really get into the tech content creation sort of thing. And it's okay. Like it also depends how you want to be professionally. Like if your career doesn't require you to be like a fucking marketer or like a content producer, basically just getting eyeballs and stuff, then you don't have to do that. Like some people don't apply for a job like that, so they don't see the benefit of it too, and that's fine. Like I said, that honestly it is not for everyone. I guess that's the shorthand answer. It's just not for everyone. Makes sense. Different lifestyle too. You're basically asking to be in front of the public eye in general, whether it be ears. We're technically you're just hearing us, so only the public ears right now, but it could have been the eyes if we had a video content or whatever other content we might produce. And especially in social media, it can be anything. It could be a simple meme. It could be a quote. Like people eat anything up. It's beautiful. There comes pros and cons, but yeah, it's definitely just not for everyone, I guess, just to answer your question concisely though.
Yeah, maybe like being in the spotlight, like being a marketer per se, but like I think I like to view this as art in a way.
No, exactly.
Maybe not for hits and for money, but like you do it because it's your art, and like we're very digital by nature because we've always grown up with technology. Like think of Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, classic.
Like we use that to create digital stuff, and granted, we're not trying to make money. I think there's a craft component to it.
No, you're actually absolutely right. It's really that's why, like, I guess you tried to mention this earlier. It's about tying the passion of film and content creation and that art style of telling a story, whether it be, just a music video or like a full-length feature film. There's all types of way to use film. And honestly, it's my favorite medium of communication because you can convey so much and you can also use all the other mediums. Music is important, the visuals, the pacing, all this stuff. You can really get into like film. I love it. Basically, literally, it's just being in Hollywood and seeing it all the time. I really got into it, watching all the movies. I used to watch like every movie that was out there, man, pretty much. So it's fun when you, like you said, painting your own little narrative. It's honestly, that's all it really is for me. And if I can somehow make videos that are helpful, or that's the thing I need to work on, is making it helpful and entertaining. Because that's honestly my ultimate goal. Is just to keep people up and going, because honestly, I do see that there's a lot of people suffering, and I'm luckily not one of those people. So I always try to remind myself to be humble and do the best that I can with my circumstances. Like I said, not many people have the privilege of not being anxious or all these other problems or issues that I personally don't deal with. So I'm just, trying to be the best me. And that's how I'm tying the content creation with my mission of just leaving a good footprint on this world. And that's it.
I don't think it's too much to ask. I think what I'm striving for personally is to just live a very purposeful life, right? Yeah. Like where I don't have to be fake and I could do what I love, and perfect. And I don't think anyone needs that much money these days. Like if you have enough to like live comfortably, in my opinion, money is great. I think we're all striving for it, but at the same time, how much is enough? At least granted, like maybe if I pick up a lotto ticket, like, what was that one show we talked about? My Name is Earl.
Yes, My Name is Earl.
My Name is Earl. Great story, by the way. You guys should check it out. But I don't know, just live very purposefully is really what I'm trying to go for, and I think it's possible for a lot of people out there too. Like we are very lucky, especially if there's hopefully a lot of people listening that are from the San Fernando Valley. Like so many opportunities here, and I hate that people bash CSUN because it's a great school and it's affordable, good network. We're walking here right now. Yep. Honestly, CSUN does not get the credit it deserves, especially during a pandemic. This place is dead. Honestly, beautiful scenery. Mm-hmm. The library was in the movie Sky High. I think they filmed SWAT here, TV show. And again, like no one probably knows that or cares, but like that's just like kind of how it is here.
Yeah, it is really nice. Like even just the local Northridge gets a bunch of scenery and enjoyment, just like the rest of the valley. And honestly, like you said, it doesn't get enough credit. It really is a pretty campus. Honestly, the thing that holds it back, and I think probably why they started getting like cred or negative cred, is probably from the '94 Northridge earthquake, because I think that fucked up a lot of the schools around here. Because I remember my elementary school, even Reseda Elementary. Shout out to Reseda, if anyone remembers that school. But apparently it used to be a 2-story building, but when I went, it was always 1 story. So they just basically never got the funds to rebuild that stuff. And I know CSUN's definitely not like that outdated, but I think that's probably where some of its cred dropped for some reason. I don't know. It's weird. I wish I could explain the hate or the lack of cred.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, we're really lucky. It's so much filming that goes on here, and I think like the weather here also adds to it too. And I don't know, it's a pretty crazy time right now, but just I guess how it is. So Bruno and I are chopping up. This is episode 1, and we've come to the conclusion that the tagline for this podcast, we really want to promote A, anyone can do a podcast, and B, our goal is to inspire as many people as we can out there to just try and create. I think in a world where we have been told to save for your 401k, get a stable job, go to school, I think the world around us is drastically changing, and we just need to adapt and know that we all have our different stories, and we can always control tomorrow and our attitudes, and we just want to inspire others and bring some laughs and good jokes. But Bruno, what about you, man? Add to this, please.
No, you said it perfectly. It's about inspiring. That's honestly my ultimate goal with my content, is just to reach out to people, just give them any advice or help them in some way so that they better themselves, or at least experience life in a better way. Because honestly, that's what I'm all about. I'm really about living the optimal life, or the human activist life, where, like I said, I'm not trying to leave a bad footprint. So it's honestly all good energy, I guess you could say. All good energy here. A lot of respect, love for anyone who does listen to our stuff. Like I said, this is episode 1, and I'm excited because I can tell it's gonna go big, fool. It's gonna be good. We're gonna have some good discussions and help some people out, and I hope everyone feels that out there. So hopefully we'll hear from you again. I'll see you again, Mateo.
Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. This was episode 1 on Hollywood, our take on Hollywood. Create your next Hollywood, be Hollywood, play the Hollywood part. And again, this is filmed on an iPhone 11 with no external mic, so please get out there, create, do something. Promise you won't regret it. Thanks for tuning in.